Thanks everybody for joining the webinar today. Today we're going to be talking about how the new Facebook post lifecycle is driving ROI for brands. So we had tons of people sign up, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thanks for joining. I'm Blake Samick, Director of Product Management for Shoutlet, and I'm very happy to be joined today by Todd Harold, Senior Director of Product Marketing at Kenshoo Social. So just a quick overview on our companies and what we do. Shoutlet is a leading independent cloud-based social marketing platform, and it enables marketers to publish, engage, and measure social marketing campaigns and activities on social platforms such as Facebook, Foursquare, Twitter, and YouTube. We're thrilled to be working with Kenshoo to take our social analytics platform to the next level to help customers track the actual ROI of their social strategies. And I'll hand it over to Todd to give us a bit of background on Kenshoo.
Thanks, Blake, and thanks also to Shoutlet for providing the opportunity to join you in today's webinar. For those of you who don't know us, Kenshoo is a digital marketing technology company that engineers premium SaaS solutions for social media, search marketing, and other online advertising channels. Major brands and advertising agencies use our products to create, manage, and optimize their multi-channel advertising campaigns and to direct more than $25 billion in annual sales revenue through our platform. Through our Kenshoo Social product, clients currently manage over 1 billion Facebook ads per day spanning the globe in 190-plus countries. We're a Facebook strategic preferred marketing developer and one of the only SPMDs with access to the Facebook Exchange, real-time bidding platform, or popularly understood as FBX. I just also want to add that Kenshoo is equally excited to have partnered with Shoutlet to provide the industry's first turnkey solution for integrated owned and paid social media marketing programs.
So for all the conversation around today's webinar, please use the hashtag FBLifecycle. We'd love to hear from you on Twitter, and you can connect with us, both of our companies really, across all these social platforms: Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google+, and LinkedIn. We're constantly posting breaking industry news, social best practices, and analysis of social trends, so we'd love to talk to you out on those different channels. So today, what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about the difference between paid, earned, and owned media and talk about how they work together. Then we'll talk about how you can take advantage of this new content lifecycle, including optimization tips and best practices for boosting ROI. And last, we'll give a sneak peek at the Shoutlet Kenshoo ROI tracking solution. Now I'll hand it over to Todd to talk about the new landscape.
Thanks, Blake. What we're going to talk about today is an overall shift in the landscape for social media marketers. In the past, marketers tended to segment their initiatives into distinct silos of owned, paid, and earned media. These silos broke down across all lines, including strategies, internal teams, as well as marketing tactics and plans. And this was due in part to limitations in features and functionality provided by the social media networks like Facebook, but was also due to challenges associated with the novelty of social media as a marketing channel as a whole, and a general lack of experience and lack of tool sets available to look holistically across these areas. But now social networks like Facebook are increasingly blurring the lines between branded content, paid advertising, and consumer conversations. Owned, paid, and earned assets are intertwined more than ever as part of the complex web of social media. As a result, marketers can no longer work in silos with a singular focus on either owned or paid social media management. Instead, they must integrate their owned and paid social media strategies, initiatives, and teams. And this new landscape provides an opportunity to move beyond focusing on social purely for brand engagement in the form of generating likes, comments, and shares. More than ever, social is being used effectively as a direct response medium to drive bottom-line sales and revenue. And this is best achieved through a comprehensive social media marketing plan that includes paid, earned, and owned media strategies. So first, let's share some high-level definitions and examples to ensure that we have a common understanding of all the basic assets that comprise the social marketer's toolkit. Let's look first at owned media. Owned media refers to the assets and objects created and managed within Facebook by your organization. At its core, it includes the brand's page and all the posts the brand makes on that page. But it also includes other assets and objects like place pages, events, applications, and more. Owned media assets do not carry any placement fees or advertising costs, and are essentially provided free of charge by Facebook. A brand's own media assets and content is displayed in the news feeds of its fans and followers only. So next, we're going to look at paid media. Paid media refers to the ads that can be purchased on Facebook, and these include ads, promoted posts, and sponsored stories. These ads are displayed on the home page, in the news feed, and on the right-hand side of Facebook, as well as on desktop and mobile devices. Paid ads can be targeted to specific audience on Facebook and can extend your brand's reach well beyond your fans or followers. For those of you who have run ads on Facebook already, you know that it can get very confusing very quickly. Facebook has been rapidly innovating and improving advertising opportunities for marketers over the last couple of years, but this rapid pace of change has led to challenges for marketers at the same time, not the least of which is simply keeping up with all the new opportunities that seem to be announced on an almost daily basis. Currently, there are over 25 different ad types, sponsored stories, and promoted posts. And each one of these offers unique capabilities which may be more or less effective for different marketing goals, such as brand awareness, fan generation, direct response, and even generating sales on the advertiser's website. So we can't look at all of the different types of advertising opportunities on Facebook in the context of this webinar. That would take far too much time. But it's worthwhile to highlight a few of the more common and effective ad types. Some of the most commonly used ad products include page post ads. These are ads generated from a brand's organic page post and can be used to acquire new fans and drive existing fans back to the brand's page for repeat engagement. Page post ads may also include a link to drive users off of Facebook and are increasingly being used by direct marketers and retailers to drive off Facebook sales. Page post ads may show up in the news feed of the users as well as on the right-hand side of Facebook. Then there are domain ads. These are the standard Facebook ads that show up in the right-hand side or the right rail of Facebook, and they link out to the brand's website. Domain ads are popular with direct marketers, retailers, and others who wish to drive sales and other actions off of Facebook. Domain ads, it's important to note, do not show up in the news feed or on mobile devices. Next, there are sponsored stories. These are ads created from the actions that a fan takes on a brand's content, such as liking, commenting, sharing, and other actions on Facebook objects. Sponsored stories can be targeted to fans and friends of fans only. And last but certainly not least, there are mobile newsfeed ads. These ads offer many of the same ad type and sponsored story options available on the desktop, but are optimized for display on Facebook's mobile site and on Facebook mobile apps. So I thought it would be interesting at this point to show some high-level results to help you think about where to get started with all the ad options on Facebook. Kenshoo conducted a 12-month study with one of our large advertising agency partners, Resolution Media. And what we found was a strong correlation in advertising interaction rates and cost per click on Facebook. The study also showed some significant differences in click-through rates and cost per clicks for the different ad types. And that's what we're going to focus on here. You can see from the chart that page post ads and sponsored stories overall outperform the other ad options on Facebook for both click-through rate and cost per click. Namely, these ads had roughly double the response rates compared to domain or object ads, and also came at significantly lower cost per click. And there are a couple of important reasons for this performance delta. For page post ads, the high performance is mostly attributable to the larger images and prominence of these ads in the user's newsfeed. For sponsored stories, the personal connection and implicit or explicit recommendation that comes from the brand's fans results in a higher trust and higher interaction rates when displayed to non-fans. This is not to say that other ad types are not effective, as they can be very effective at driving specific actions and meeting specific goals of advertisers at effective rates. But if you're looking at expanding your marketing efforts on Facebook with paid ads, page post ads and sponsored stories are a great place to start. Next, let's look at earned media. Earned media refers to the incremental exposure that a brand earns through viral engagement and interactions that the users have with the brand's owned and paid content. When a fan likes, comments, shares, or checks in on a brand asset, these actions have the opportunity to be displayed in the newsfeed of the user's friends and function as an implicit recommendation for the brand's paid or owned content. earned media can expose you to brand new audiences on Facebook and is critical to every social marketing program. One study by ComScore and Facebook showed that leading brands extend their monthly reach by 50 to 200% through the earned media exposure generated by their fans. So again, a very important component of an overall social media program. But how do we bring it all together? When thinking of integrating paid, owned, and earned media efforts, we at Kenshoo Social tend to think of taking a portfolio approach. It starts with a core base of fans from which you can extend and amplify your message. Your fans are your base audience with which you can regularly engage and re-engage with your audience. From your fans, you can extend your message to target friends of fans or their friends. And then beyond these groups, you have a wider Facebook audience, which now makes up roughly 1 in 7 people on the planet. So most likely, your target customers can be found on Facebook. The key is, how do you find them? And fortunately, Facebook provides extensive capabilities to target these users, specifically based on their likes and interests, demographics, location, etc. So you can effectively find the right prospects and customers at the right time. Once you've built your base of fans and have successfully identified your targets in the wider Facebook population, then you can begin driving them off Facebook to your website to engage with them in actions specific to your campaign goals, including driving sales and revenue. Overall, it's a very fluid environment in which owned assets are turned into paid assets. Both owned and paid content lifetimes are extended by users and other users in the form of earned media and viral engagement. But combining approaches and breaking down the silos is critical to success and providing a new pathway to social media ROI. And now I'll turn it over to Blake to talk more deeply about the new Facebook post lifecycle.
Thanks, Todd. So after all that, you may be convinced that merging your paid and owned media is a good strategy for the future. But what are some tips for success? That's what I'll be sharing with you in the next part here. So the starting point really of the Facebook content lifecycle is each individual Facebook post. To generate the engagement on your own media or convert that into a paid media, you first need to get that engagement. You need to make the post first and you need to drive engagement. So what do you need to do that? Basically, it's coming down to you're going to have to promote posts to reach more people now, the way that the Facebook newsfeed algorithm has changed over time. Sometimes it's commonly called edge rank. But right now, many sources are suggesting that you're only reaching about 5 to 15% of your brand's fans if you post purely organically. But still, that being said, everything starts with the organic post, so it's important to think about these characteristics of your organic posts when you start there. So, first of all, think about a call to action. What are you asking fans to do? Think about the format. So this can be also called the post type, things like photos, videos, etc. The content, so what is the actual photo, as an example. The time is also important. So thinking about when this post should go out, how close is it to other posts, when are your fans online, things like that. And the targeting is also very important. You can obviously start with posting to every single fan that likes your page, but you can also get even more granular to get some more engagement. So when you're thinking about the actual piece of content that you're posting, what will result in the interaction you're hoping to generate? Is it a picture of your latest product? Is it an engaging image that's related to your brand vision that encourages people to ask questions and answer questions? The truth is really that it's going to be different for every brand, every business, and experimentation is needed to see what works best. Just make sure to remind yourself as you create content to make sure it's relevant to the users. We often see that brands can easily be swept away by the latest meme or viral video, just trying to jump on that train and trying to seem like they're with it. But it really provides very little value to their audience in many cases. So just focus on being relevant to those fans and authentic and providing some unique value through your updates. And you'll generate lots of engagement that way. But if you fail to do that, oftentimes you'll generate little engagement at best, and at worst, you'll lose those fans that you've worked so hard to obtain. So I'll talk a bit about format now. So Facebook, in particular, allows a lot of different post formats when you're choosing your content. So these are things like photo posts, links, text, videos, events, etc. But research shows that some formats do better than others. In fact, photos on Facebook generate 53% more likes than the average post, and it's a trend that we definitely think is going to continue. Even looking at Facebook's new design of newsfeed, it's obvious that everything is moving to a much more visual world. So if you're not taking visuals seriously and use of imagery seriously, I think now is a really good time to start. One thing to also consider is that engagement is super important for this post that you're doing, but it's also very important for the future posts. And what I mean by that is Facebook will take into account how much engagement each of your posts is getting. So if you're posting something and it doesn't get a lot of likes and comments and things like that, Facebook will take that into account when you make your next post, and it's less likely to be seen by more people. So as you start to build up that credibility by getting lots of engagement, posting engaging content that your fans really like, you start to get more and more exposure organically going forward. So the next thing to do is think about your timing, and this is referring to when are you going to schedule that post to go out, or if you're not using scheduling, when are you going to click the button to post? And it's just kind of a sticky issue, and if you Google it, you'll find thousands of studies and conflicting opinions on optimal posting times. The truth is, on this one, again, the best timing is different for every audience, and it's really the best thing to do is to use a measurement tool to understand which of your posts are doing well and when were they posted. Are your posts on Mondays doing really well, much better than your posts on Tuesdays, as an example, or time of day? And it's really all about when your fans are online and when they're engaging. So you can use Facebook Insights to do some of this, but better yet, enlist a social media measurement tool that can help you uncover some of those rich data points to help you optimize that going forward. So the call to action, if you're not seeing much engagement from your posts, one issue might be that you're not asking people to take action. Give them directives to click through, like or share with their friends. A lot of times people will get confused and they won't do this at first, or they think it's being too asky of their fan base. But really, if you don't do it too much, it's a great way to get that engagement that you need to fuel that edge rank going forward. Just be sure to use it creatively and in moderation. So too many posts asking for people to like your content may come off as insincere. So it's best to be creative, ask questions, or provide a fill-in-the-blank statement for them to finish, as an example. So the next thing to consider is targeting. When you post on Facebook now, you have a lot of options of who to target. And when you do that, you want to think about a few things. So there's actually two types of targeting. There's timeline targeting and newsfeed targeting. You timeline targeting, basically, you're choosing the group of people that are going to see that in their newsfeed as well as on the timeline of your brand or business. So one example might be that you want to target only Spanish-speaking people with this post because you're going to post it in Spanish and you want only those people to see it. You would probably use timeline targeting for that because you may do a similar post in another language, maybe English, targeted at only English speakers. And when both of those different groups come to your timeline to look at your brand's or your business's history there, you don't want them to see two duplicate posts in different languages. You want an experience that's authentic and personalized to them, and that's why you would do that. But newsfeed targeting is a bit different in that it's only targeted in the newsfeed. So when you post there, if someone shares it or likes it, basically any of their friends can see it, and there's a lot more options there for targeting even more, getting even more granular with your targeting. Again, so use targeting wisely. It's important to use it, I think, because you want to make sure what you're posting is relevant and authentic, and targeting is a way to do that. But sometimes, obviously, you want to reach your full fan base with a message. But just keep in mind that the engagement that you're getting on that piece of content is, again, it's fueling that algorithm for the future. So publishing stuff to people where it will be relevant to them always makes a lot of sense. So here's an example of just a post that we did from Shoutlet recently. We had an event in New York, And we targeted this to just the New York area because it wasn't really relevant to all of our fans. We were having an event that was local there that week, and this is just a simple example. Okay, so you've got some info now on how to put together some content, and you can work on your posting strategy. But now what after that? Let's talk about the next step to take advantage of the content lifecycle. Really, you want to look at all those posts and monitor and measure them to determine how to involve paid media. So I mentioned at the beginning of this that a lot of your posts are only reaching 5 to 18% of your fans in many cases if you're just posting organically. And obviously the ones that are really resonating with your fans, you want them to reach even more. You want them to reach friends of fans and maybe even more than that. So those are the cases that you really want to consider involving some paid media. So there's a couple ways to do this, or a few ways to do this really. And in some cases you may think that you've got this post that's supposed to go out and it's really important, it's about a big product launch or something like that. And you may just know right from the get-go that you want to sponsor it, you want to create a page post ad, create sponsored stories off of it, and you promote it with paid media right as you post it. But in many cases, it happens kind of after the fact where you post out there and you see how it's doing and you essentially put some paid media behind the posts that are doing the best so that those ones travel the furthest because they already have some momentum. So using social media tools, including Facebook Insights, can really help you figure that out and figure out what the posts are with the highest engagement and interaction and helping them bubble to the surface. And there's new tools, such as the one we're talking about today with Kenshoo Social and Shoutlet's social attribution solution that can offer additional performance metrics that can show you how posts are performing all the way to the bottom line. So you're not just looking at likes and comments and shares from Facebook metrics, but you're also looking at how much ROI or how many purchases, how much actual revenue did this post actually generate. And if you see a post that's generating a lot of revenue more than your normal posts, that would be a great one to promote. So advertisers who take advantage of this latest attribution technology are well equipped to maximize the impact of their paid social media campaigns through selective and targeted amplification of their best performing posts as paid ads. So when you are going to put some paid media behind some of your Facebook posts, there's really two types that we think about. There's the voice of the business. That basically that means that you're taking the post that you made to those fans and you're creating a page post ad so that you're reaching more fans or friends of fans. But there's also the voice of the friend, and that refers to the sponsored stories that Todd talked about earlier. Here's some sponsored stories or some stories that you might want to sponsor based on your fans' engagement with your own media content. So things like when someone comes and they like your page, some of their fans or some of their friends may see that, but obviously you might want more of their friends to see that because it has their face on it and it makes it more relevant to their friends. Similarly, if someone claims an offer or they check in at your location, you might want to sponsor that. Or if you have an app and someone installs that app, that's something that you might want to sponsor as well. So really all these types of stories can be sponsored, and it's just thinking about which ones are really relevant for your business and thinking about which ones make the most sense to put some money behind. So, advanced tracking tools can really show you the results of your Facebook posts, and we've been kind of alluding to this. But this is really the third step here. So after you've chosen the post to sponsor on the fly because you see these posts getting additional engagement and things like this, generating more revenue, you choose to sponsor it, you want to kind of take a look back and just start looking at all the performance. So it's always very important to track as much as you can so that you can slice and dice that data later. And as posts move from being displayed in the organic newsfeed to moving through to being sponsored content in the newsfeed or as page post ads, you want to monitor the impact throughout that whole life cycle. And start to extract the insights and start to figure out how those posts are performing in different stages of that. And is it making sense that you're sponsoring and putting paid media behind the right posts and friend activity or sponsored stories. And over time, you start to see that. You start to see how engaging, sharing, and sales are performing really based on each of these posts, and it helps inform that content strategy for the future. So now I want to give you a sneak peek at the solution that we've put together between Shoutlet and Kenshoo that we're calling social attribution. So right now, with our solution, community managers for the first time can accurately define the value of social media marketing by attributing real revenue dollars to effective social content. So rather than relying on some of those social metrics that we've talked about, like likes, shares, and comments, that don't always correlate to sales, brands can identify the impact of each Facebook or Twitter post on the actual bottom line. So we can start to surface metrics that have not been available before, things like revenue per post, revenue per click, and just owned media ROI overall. Now, hand it off to Todd to talk a bit more about that and how it works.
Thanks, Blake. So as Blake was saying, with the Kenshoo Social and Shoutlet social attribution solution, we're able to track each interaction that a user has on a brand's own media assets, as well as on the brand's paid and earned content as well. For advertisers who are using Kenshoo to manage other paid channels, such as Google, Bing, Yahoo, etc., we're also able to provide insights and visibility into the customer journey across channels and throughout the purchase process. So what you see here is an example of an actual customer path to purchase for one of our retail clients over the recent holiday season. And we're going to dig deeper into a case study of our retail advertisers over the holiday season in just a moment. But what you can see here is an example of that pathway that we're able to now track with Kenshoo Social and Shoutlet. You can see in this example that the customer journey started with a Facebook ad impression, an ad impression, incidentally, that was not clicked on, but started off the pathway and generating brand awareness or what have you. And then the user moved through successive channels and interactions. And so these spanned Bing and Google searches, as well as interactions with the brand's Facebook-owned media, so page posts that were on the brand page, as well as other Facebook ads, including marketplace ads, and there was actually a Facebook exchange interaction as well. And all of these paths, all these interactions occurred throughout the path, which ultimately led to a conversion or a sale on the brand's website. So advertisers are now using this information to effectively optimize their campaigns and budgets to maximize performance holistically across channels. And typically when we look across channels, we see that Facebook actually drives significantly higher performance and actually deserves much more credit than it's frequently given or understood to generate. And this is due primarily to the traditional focus that's been on what's called last click attribution, rather than attributing credit across all the touch points in the customer journey. So this is, provides great insights for the social media marketer, as well as the cross-channel marketer. And so what I'd like to do now is dig a little deeper into this retail case study that I was referring to. Essentially, several major U.S. retailers were using the Kenshoo Social and Shoutlet social attribution solution over the 2012 holiday retail season. And these retailers were able, for the first time, to measure the sales and revenue directly attributable to their own media page post activity. Using this information, the retailers were able to selectively amplify the best performing page posts as paid ads and drive impressive revenue lift and return on investment. On average, the retailers were posting about 5 to 6 times a day on their Facebook brand pages, and they generated tens of millions of high-quality organic visits to their websites throughout the period of the study. And many of these, 40% of these interactions with the owned media posts actually generated significant sales and revenue. So let's look at the organic visits a little bit more deeply. Throughout the study, retailers generated an average order values as well as conversion rates on their own media that were on par with what we see across paid search as well as paid social media campaigns. So again, example of how powerful and important organic and owned media page post activity is to overall campaign success. Interestingly enough, some of the most successful owned media posts generated conversion rates as high as 10%, and this is truly impressive. Once we were able to begin tracking revenue conversions via the social attribution solution, we began looking at new metrics, which Blake had mentioned prior, revenue per post and revenue per click. And using these metrics, the social content teams or community managers were able to begin targeting their activity towards revenue goals. And many of the retailers discovered that that their own media page post activity was actually generating hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue that was previously either not tracked or not credited to the own media initiatives and may have been credited to other media channels instead. Meanwhile, the retailer paid social media teams also participated, and they benefited by seeing which organic posts had the highest performance, and then were able to selectively amplify these posts with some foreknowledge that of the likelihood that these posts would actually be successful. And in this way, they were able to spare budget that might have been spent on the other 60% of posts that didn't result in sales and revenue. And so this dramatically improved the paid advertising performance, and what we saw there was a 5 times revenue lift through paid ads, as well as a 30 times return on investment on those ads. And again, this is very significant results that we saw across the program. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Blake to wrap things up.
Hey, thanks, Todd. So let's recap. We've covered a lot here. So we know that the landscape is changing, and paid and earned and owned can now work together. It's important that you optimize your content, format, timing, call to action, and targeting on your own media posts. You want to look at those posts as they're happening, and you want to monitor and measure the metrics that are available to you so you can determine which ones to actually put some money behind and to promote to reach more people. And then, of course, you want to analyze the results over time with a sophisticated tracking solution. So you can look at some of these metrics that are brand new that Todd just talked about that can really tie your own media activity, your organic social media activity all the way down to the bottom line and see how your content is performing. So right before we open it up for a little bit of Q&A, I'd like to ask, what's your biggest takeaway from today's webinar? If you tweet an answer with the FB Lifecycle hashtag, we'll select a few random tweets, and they will win a free Shoutlet and Kenshoo t-shirt. And with that, we'll open it up for some Q&A.
Okay, Blake. I actually have a question here that I'd like to take. The first one is, what's the difference between page post ads and promoted post ads? And that is a very, very good question. And there's been a fair bit of confusion on that point. Essentially, promoted posts and page post ads are the same things. They appear somewhat differently, and they're purchased in different ways on Facebook, but essentially they're the same types of ads and creative. So promoted posts is something that Facebook came out with to simplify the process for folks to begin advertising on Facebook. And so typically you can promote a post from directly from your brand page and directly from that post, just making it easier to get that post in front of your desired target audience. And the promoted posts show up exclusively in the news feed. Page post ads, which ultimately are very, very similar, also show up in the news feed, but may show up on the right-hand side as well. Okay, here's another one. It's from Betsy Drasner.
When is the best time to measure the effectiveness of your post? Is it 24 hours after the post, a few days, a week? What we've seen is that the vast majority of engagement that's going to happen on your post is going to happen in the first 48 hours. So it's really important to kind of look at your post that long, but even within the first couple of hours, you can see a post that seems to be trending a bit more than your other posts, which can inform you to boost something even that early. Here's one more I'll take. It's what are dark posts on Facebook and how do you use them? So dark posts are basically posts that you can create that don't show up on your timeline. They're purely there for advertising, putting paid media behind them. So you can create a dark post. It won't show up on your business's timeline, but when you target it with an ad, you can use the content of that post and target it at a specific audience in the newsfeed.
Okay, and Blake, I'll take a next one. This one's from Patrick Freilich, and apologies if I didn't get your name, last name proper. How does Kenshoo Social match the sold customer to their FB profile, considering the amount of profiles with the same name? Great question. We're actually not tracking back to the individual user profile. So we're not looking at the user's private information or anything like that. Basically, the solution works through cookie tracking. So when the user engages on Facebook and clicks through a post that was distributed via Shoutlet, that user routes through Kenshoo systems, and we cookie the user and then can see the type of activity that they do, on other advertising units, owned media on Facebook, across other channels, if the advertiser is advertising through Kenshoo as well, and then ultimately to see the types of purchases that the client, the consumer is making on those websites. So we don't have personal identifiable information, no privacy concerns there. It's all anonymized based on cookies.
Here's another one from Alicia Cardenas. Did I hear that correctly earlier? Facebook algorithm looks at your interaction, and if you have low interaction, your next post will not be displayed to as many people. So there's lots of things that are taken into account with Facebook's newsfeed algorithm, which is sometimes called EdgeRank. And again, it's all only really known by Facebook, but just by looking at data, we can see that interaction or that reach will go down if your engagement is going down over time. So we do know that engagement is a huge factor in how you're weighted in the newsfeed going forward. The question of your very next post, I would have to say no, probably not your next post, but because I doubt that the algorithm updates that quickly. But just the comment I made earlier was purely that the interaction or the engagement you get on today's post really affect everything going forward. So just always have a kind of a forward-thinking mindset when you're making these posts and try to post something that's authentic, that's relevant, that will get engagement for the future.
Okay, this is Todd again. Another one that I can take, somewhat related to the last question, this time coming from Doug Summer. Did you say that Kenshoo Shoutlet solution measures path to conversion even within the advertiser's website? Does that include the various pages within the site? I would say yes and no on that. Again, we're using cookie technology to understand interactions the consumer is having with various forms of media, as well as interactions that they take place on the brand's website. So it really depends on what the brand is looking to measure and what those conversion events that the brand cares about. Kenshoo does not typically what they call pixel every page on a brand's website, and instead we integrate with other solutions like Google Analytics or what have you to gather that more in-depth information. What the Kenshoo Shoutlet solution is really looking for is at the end of the day, did the consumer take an action that the brand considers a conversion of some sort, typically in the form of a purchase, but it certainly could be any other action that the brand cares about taking place on the website. So thank you. Great question. Here's another one that I'll go ahead and take from Betsy Drasner. Is targeting a free Facebook service? Again, sort of a yes and no answer. All of the targeting capabilities, and they're quite deep within Facebook for paid advertising, of course, comes along with either CPM or CPC rates associated with the ads. Facebook also allows for own media posts for these posts to be targeted as well. And so, of course, with all things owned media, that targeting then would be quote-unquote free.
Okay, it sounds like we're wrapping up here. So we're going to provide just one last thought from each of us, just something to keep in mind with this. And I think from my perspective, it's one thing that I don't see a lot of people taking a lot of advantage of yet is just really targeting posts effectively and really thinking about which content is going to resonate with which audience. And when you're doing that, really comparing how a certain piece of content is resonating with multiple audiences. So you could, for example, create dark posts and then target that same post at two different audiences and see how it's resonating with both. You can do the same thing with ads, obviously, but taking all that information and really starting to figure out which type of content is going to resonate best with different segments of your audience, and using that as part of your whole content strategy is really important.
Agreed, Blake. And then a final thought from my side. It really boils down to, and we see this with a lot of major brands as well as small to medium-sized brands, and we still see these silos of teams and strategies and plans between inside organizations with folks focused exclusively on paid media, either social or search, owned media, et cetera. And more, what we see and what we advocate to our clients is break down those walls, break down the silos, and get those teams speaking with one another, sharing information, and use tools and applications that are capable of measuring and reporting and optimizing across all of those channels and across your paid and owned and earned activity. And by doing so, this is the way that advertisers, marketers can generate the best performance or maximize their performance of their overall online marketing programs.
All right, great. Well, I think this went really well, and please keep asking questions on Twitter after this, and feel free to reach out to either one of us on Twitter as well, and you can register for a demo to see the solution we're talking about, to see Shoutlet and Kenshoo Social in action, and please connect with us on Facebook as well as the other channels that we mentioned earlier. And real quick, I want to mention that we have a white paper that's out that really details this solution, and we'll have a link to that in the recap post on our blog about this site, and please come and register and take a look at that. It's got a lot of really great information and digs into some of the statistics that Todd mentioned earlier.
Sounds great, Blake. And I would just like to say thanks again to Shoutlet for inviting Kenshoo Social to participate in this webinar, and hope that the information presented here was helpful and interesting to the audience.
Thanks, Todd. It's been great working with you. And thanks, everybody, for joining. We'll talk to you soon.